Admiral Kim Dae-ho stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable and watched the stars shine brighter than he had ever seen them before. Today marked the end of 50 long years of waiting and hoping. Earth was finally becoming a full member of VAR, the Galactic Council. The bridge crew worked quietly around him, but he could feel their excitement in the air. They had all dreamed of this moment. The massive view screen showed the council station floating in space like a giant metal flower. Ships from hundreds of different worlds moved around it in careful patterns. Some looked like silver needles that could cut through space itself. Others were round and fat like metal balloons. A few had shapes that hurt to look at because human eyes were not made to understand them. But they were all here for the same reason. They came to welcome Earth into their great family of stars. Commander Lee Jun-ho walked up to the Admiral and saluted. His uniform was pressed perfect and his boots shined like mirrors. "Sir, Ambassador Park So-min reports that the signing ceremony will begin in 1 hour. All department heads are ready for the technology transfer protocols." Kim Dae-ho nodded and looked at his old friend. They had served together for 20 years. They had fought pirates in the outer system. They had explored dead worlds where ancient civilizations once lived. They had watched Earth build its first real starships from salvaged alien metal found, drifting in space. Now they were about to receive the secrets that would make humanity equal to any species in the galaxy. "Tell me, Jun-ho, do you think we are ready for this?" Kim Dae-ho asked. Lee Jun-ho smiled. "Sir, we have been ready since the first human looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there." On the council station, Ambassador Park So-min checked her appearance in the mirror one last time. Her black hair was pulled back in a style that looked professional, but not too formal. She wore Earth's best diplomatic uniform with small pins showing the flags of every human colony. In a few minutes, she would sign the Treaty of Stellar Cooperation. The document was 300 pages long and written in 17 different languages. She had read every word. Director Han Bo-ra stood beside her with a tablet showing the final checklist. "Ambassador, the Galactic Council has confirmed all 57 member species will attend the ceremony. The Nexari Empire representative will present the advanced technology packages. The Corvan Republic will provide the hyperspace communication networks. The Therian clans will share their star charts of the Outer Rim territories." Park So-min felt her heart beating fast. "Bo-ra, my grandmother used to tell me stories about the first humans who sailed across the oceans on Earth. She said they were brave because they sailed toward horizons they could not see. Today we sail toward stars we cannot even imagine reaching." "Yes, Ambassador. And like those ancient sailors, we will discover wonders beyond our dreams." Captain Yoon Mi-ra walked through the corridors of her science vessel Horizon's Edge. The ship was smaller than the military vessels, but it was packed with the best scientific equipment Earth could build. Her crew of 40 researchers had spent months preparing for this day. They would be the first humans to work directly with alien scientists. They would learn how to build engines that could cross the galaxy in days instead of years. They would discover new forms of energy that could power entire worlds. Her science officer, Lieutenant Nam Yu-jin, ran up to her with a data pad in his hands. His eyes were wide with excitement. "Captain, the Nexari have just transmitted the preliminary data on their quantum field generators. The power output is incredible. With this technology, we could build ships 10 times faster than anything we have now." Yoon Mi-ra took the pad and looked at the numbers. The mathematics was beautiful and terrible at the same time. These aliens had mastered forces that humans were only beginning to understand. "Yu-jin, make sure all our people understand something important. We are not just receiving gifts today. We are accepting responsibilities. The galaxy is watching to see if humanity deserves these secrets. I understand, Captain. We will not disappoint Earth." In the deepest levels of the council station, Overseer Velthar of the Nexari Empire met with 3 other council members in a room with no windows and no recording devices. The Nexari looked like giant insects, but they walked on 2 legs and their forearms moved like a dancer when they talked. Velthar's compound eyes reflected the dim light as he spoke in the clicking language of his people. The translation device made his words sound cold and sharp. The humans advanced too quickly. In 50 years, they have gone from a single world to 12 colonies. Their technology improves faster than any species we have seen. Their ships are crude but effective. Their weapons are simple but deadly. If we give them our best secrets, they will become a threat to the established order. Council member Zixtar of the hegemony nodded his massive head. His species looked like walking rocks with too many teeth. The humans killed the Vegan pirates, without mercy. They destroyed the slaver fleet at Proxima with no warning. They do not follow the civilized rules of war. They fight like wild animals. Exactly, Velthar clicked, and wild animals must be controlled before they become dangerous to their betters. The third council member was from the Spiral Confederation. Her species looked almost human except for the silver skin and the extra set of arms. But the treaty has been signed by all members. We cannot simply ignore our own laws. Velthar's mandibles clicked together in what humans would have recognized as a cruel smile. We do not ignore the law. We follow it exactly. The treaty states that new members must prove they can handle advanced technology responsibly. If they cannot, their membership can be revoked for the safety of the galaxy. You plan to set them up for failure, the Confederation member said. I plan to let them show their true nature. Humans are aggressive. They are violent. They cannot be trusted, with the power to travel freely between the stars. When they prove this, we will have no choice but to act for the greater good. Back on the Indomitable, the ceremony began. The main view screen showed Ambassador Park So-min standing at a podium made of crystal that seemed to hold tiny stars inside. Beings from across the galaxy watched as she placed her hand on the treaty and spoke the words that would change humanity forever. On behalf of Earth and all human colonies, I accept membership in the Galactic Council. We pledge to uphold the laws of civilized space. We promise to use the knowledge you share with us for the benefit of all thinking beings. We vow to protect the weak and stand against those who would harm the innocent. The ceremony continued for 2 hours. Each council member spoke about the great future that awaited humanity. They talked about trade agreements that would make Earth rich. They promised scientific exchanges that would solve humanity's greatest problems. They offered military alliances that would protect human space from any threat. Admiral Kim Dae-ho listened to every word. His instincts told him that something was wrong. The promises were too perfect. The smiles were too bright. But he pushed these doubts away. Earth needed these allies. Humanity had been alone in the dark for too long. Commander Lee Jun-ho coordinated the transfer of alien technology to the human fleet. Ship after ship docked with the council station to receive new equipment. Faster engines were installed in every vessel. New weapon systems were mounted on the warships. Communication arrays that could send messages across the galaxy in seconds were placed on every human station and colony. The work took 3 weeks. Human engineers worked beside alien technicians to understand the new systems. The aliens were patient teachers. They answered every question, they explained every detail. They made sure that every human ship had the best equipment the galaxy could provide. When the work was finished, Admiral Kim Dae-ho's fleet looked like a force that could challenge any enemy. The 12 battleships of Earth now carried weapons that could crack planets. Their shields could stop attacks that would have destroyed them before. Their engines could reach any corner of human space in hours instead of months. Admiral, Lee Jun-ho reported, all ships are reporting full integration of Council technology. Our fleet is now operating at galactic standard levels. Kim Dae-ho nodded. Then let us return to Earth and show our people what we have accomplished. The human fleet departed the Council station in perfect formation. They jumped to hyperspace with their new engines and crossed the galaxy toward home. Behind them, the Council members watched their ships disappear into the void. Velthar turned to his conspirators. Phase 1 is complete. The humans now carry our technology. They trust us completely. When Phase 2 begins, they will have no defense against what is coming. But in the depths of space, Captain Yoon Mi-ra's science vessel recorded everything. Her instruments detected energy patterns that did not match the official specifications. Her computers found hidden code in the alien systems. Something was very wrong with the gifts humanity had received. She made a note to investigate further. When they reached home, the seeds of betrayal had been planted. Soon they would grow into a harvest of fire and blood that would shake the galaxy to its core. 3 months had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council. and Captain Choi Hyunwoo was beginning to hate the night shift. The destroyer Seoul's Thunder patrolled the edge of human space where nothing ever happened, except the occasional ice comet or space dust. His crew was getting restless from the boring routine of scanning empty space and filing reports that nobody read. But tonight was different. Lieutenant Nam Yoo-jin at the sensor station suddenly sat up straight and started typing commands into his console with quick, nervous movements. "Captain, I am detecting unusual energy signatures at coordinate 77 Alpha. The readings are very faint, but they do not match any natural phenomenon." Choi Hyunwoo walked over to look at the sensor display. The screen showed waves of energy that pulsed in regular patterns like a heartbeat. "Are we looking at some kind of alien technology?" "Yes, sir. But here is the strange part. The energy signatures do not match any known council species in our database. According to the technical manuals we received, no council member uses this type of power system." The captain frowned. Every piece of alien technology had been carefully cataloged during the integration process. The council had provided complete databases of all member species and their capabilities. If these readings did not match the database, then either the council had lied about their technology or someone else was watching human space. "Run a full spectrum analysis. I want to know everything about these energy readings. And Nam, do this quietly. Do not send any reports through normal channels until we know what we are dealing with." For the next 4 hours, the crew of Seoul's Thunder worked to solve the mystery. They used every sensor they had and pushed their equipment to maximum sensitivity. Slowly, a picture began to form. The energy signatures were coming from at least 12 different sources spread across the outer edge of human territory. The sources were moving in coordinated patterns. They were definitely artificial, and they were definitely watching. "Captain," Nam Yoo-jin said in a whisper, "I think we have found cloaked surveillance drones. They are using a technology that bends light around them to become invisible. But their power systems still give off energy that our sensors can detect, if we know what to look for." Choi Hyunwoo felt ice form in his stomach. Who would be watching us, and why would they hide it from the council? We are supposed to be allies now. On the council station orbiting Nexus Prime, Ambassador Park So-min was having her own problems with mysteries. For the past 2 weeks, several council members had been avoiding her requests for meetings. Trade negotiations that should have taken days were being delayed for weeks. Scientific exchanges that had been promised were being postponed indefinitely. Director Hanbora knocked on the ambassador's office door and entered with a worried expression on her face. She carried a data tablet and moved like someone who had not slept well in many nights. "Ambassador, I have been analyzing communication patterns between council members. Something very unusual is happening." Park So-min looked up from the treaty, documents she had been reviewing. "What kind of unusual?" "There has been a significant increase in encrypted communications between specific council members. The Nexari Empire, the Hegemony, the Spiral Confederation, and 6 other species have been exchanging messages using private channels that bypass normal diplomatic protocols. Perhaps they are planning a surprise for us, a welcome celebration, or a gift." Hanbora shook her head. "I do not think so. I have been monitoring shipping records and supply manifests. There has been unusual military activity in the Helix sector. Large amounts of weapons, ammunition, and military supplies are being moved to that region. The official records listed as scientific research, but the quantities are far too large for any research project." Park So-min set down her documents and gave her full attention to her aide. "Bora, what exactly are you suggesting?" "I think some council members are planning something that they do not want humanity to know about. The secrecy, the military, build-up, the avoiding of meetings. It all points to a conspiracy. That is a very serious accusation. The council operates on principles of openness and cooperation. All members are equal partners. With respect, Ambassador, that is what they told us. But what if it is not true? On Earth, Admiral Kim Dae-ho was dealing with problems of his own. Commander Lee Jun-ho had brought him a report that made no sense according to everything they had been told about galactic civilization. Human colonies were reporting shortages of basic supplies that should have been easy to obtain through council trade networks. Admiral, The colony on New Busan is reporting that their order for medical supplies has been delayed indefinitely. The official reason is quality control inspections. But the same supplies were delivered to Corvin Republic colonies just last week without any problems. Kim Dae-ho studied the supply reports on his desk. The pattern was clear once you knew what to look for. Medical equipment, defensive weapons, communication systems, and repair parts were all being delayed or redirected away from human colonies. Each delay had an official explanation that sounded reasonable by itself. But taken together, they formed a picture that worried him. Jun-ho, it looks like someone is trying to make our colonies dependent and vulnerable. Without medical supplies, they cannot treat injuries. Without defensive weapons, they cannot protect themselves. Without communication systems, they cannot call for help. But sir, why would the council do this to us? We just joined their organization. We are supposed to be partners now. I do not know, but I want you to quietly contact all our colony commanders. Tell them to start building emergency stockpiles of essential supplies. And do not use council communication channels for this. Use our old military codes. Captain Yoon Mi-ra was having the most success in finding answers, but she did not like what she was discovering. Her science vessel, Horizon's Edge, had been assigned to work with alien researchers on advanced communication technology. The project gave her access to high-level council networks that most humans never saw. Her science officer, Lieutenant Nam Yu-jin, had been analyzing the hidden code they had found in the alien systems 3 months earlier. What he discovered was far worse than they had feared. Captain, I have found kill switches embedded in every piece of technology the council gave us. With the right signal, they can shut down our engines, disable our weapons, and cut off our communications. Are you certain about this? Yes, Captain. The code is hidden very deep, but it is definitely there. Every human ship now carries systems that can be remotely controlled by the council. We are completely vulnerable. Yoon Mi-ra felt sick. Nam, how long would it take to remove these kill switches? Weeks of work for each ship, and we would have to do it without the council knowing, or they might activate the switches before we finish. Then we need to warn Admiral Kim Dae-ho immediately. But when Yoon Mi-ra tried to send a message to Earth, she discovered that long-range communications were not working properly. The system showed green lights and normal operation status, but her messages were not getting through. She tried different frequencies and different relay stations, but the result was always the same. Her warnings were disappearing into empty space. Captain, Nam Yu-jin said with fear in his voice, I think our communications are being blocked. Someone is intercepting our messages before they can reach Earth. On the council station, Velthar met with his conspirators in the same hidden room they had used before. The Nexari's forearms moved in gestures of satisfaction as he spoke to the others. Phase 2 is proceeding perfectly. The humans are isolated. Their supply lines are disrupted. Their technology can be disabled at our command. They suspect nothing. Council member Zixtar of the Hegemony showed his sharp teeth in what passed for a smile among his species. The military buildup in the Helix sector is complete. We have assembled the largest fleet in galactic history. 3,000 ships with enough firepower to sterilize every human world. And the other council members? Asked the representative from the Spiral Confederation. They have been told that humanity poses a threat to galactic stability. The evidence we have provided shows that humans are planning to attack council worlds and steal advanced technology. Most members now agree that action must be taken to protect the galaxy. Velthar's compound eyes glittered with malice. In 3 days we will present the final evidence to the full council. We will show them recordings of human military exercises that we have edited to look like attack preparations. We will present testimony from our agents claiming that humans have made threats against council members. The vote for military action will be unanimous. And then? Then we will activate Protocol 7. Every human ship will be disabled simultaneously. Every human colony will be defenseless. We will strike before they can react or call for help. Within 72 hours, the human problem will be solved forever. Back on Seoul's Thunder, Captain Choi Hyun-woo had made a terrible discovery. The surveillance drones that had been watching human space were not just observing. They were mapping defense positions, cataloging ship movements, and identifying key targets. Someone was preparing for war against humanity. Nam, send an emergency. Transmission to Admiral Kim Dae-ho. Use the old military encryption codes. The attack came at dawn on New Busan, humanity's largest colony world. Colonel Park Jin-soo was drinking his morning coffee and reading reports from the overnight patrol when the sky suddenly filled with alien warships. They appeared without warning, dropping out of hyperspace in perfect attack formation, like metal vultures descending on prey. Park Jin-soo threw down his coffee cup and ran to the command center while alarms screamed across the colony. His defense force had 12 fighters, 4 patrol boats, and a single orbital platform with enough firepower to stop pirates, but not a fleet. Through the windows he could see the alien ships blocking out the sun. There were hundreds of them. All units, this is Colonial Command. Park Jin-soo spoke into his communicator with a steady voice that hid his fear. We are under attack by unknown forces. Activate all defensive systems and prepare for combat. But the defensive systems did not activate. The orbital platform's weapons would not fire. The fighter craft could not launch because their engines would not start. Every piece of technology that had been upgraded with Council systems was dead. The colony was helpless. Lieutenant Kim So-ra ran up to him with terror in her eyes. Colonel, our communications are down. We cannot contact Earth or any other human world. We cannot call for help. Through the command center's main screen, Park Jin-soo watched the alien fleet position itself above New Busan's major cities. The ships were massive and dark, bristling with weapons that glowed like angry stars. He recognized some of the designs from the Council database. Nexari Empire vessels, hegemony dreadnoughts, ships from a dozen different species that humanity had called allies. Sir, Lieutenant Kim So-ra said in a whisper, they are charging their weapons. The orbital bombardment began without any demand for surrender or any attempt at communication. Beams of pure energy reached down from the sky like the fingers of an angry god. Where they touched the ground, everything simply ceased to exist. Buildings, vehicles, and people were turned to ash in seconds. The colony's main city disappeared in a flash of light that could be seen from orbit. Park Jin-soo watched his world die and felt something break inside his chest. These were not enemy forces striking at military targets. This was genocide. The aliens were killing everyone, soldiers and civilians alike, without mercy or hesitation. All available personnel, fall back to the underground shelters, he ordered. Save as many people as you can. Document everything. Someone must survive to tell Earth what happened here. On Earth, Admiral Kim Dae-ho was in the middle of a staff meeting when every alarm on the Indomitable began screaming at once. Commander Lee Jun-ho burst through the door with his uniform half-buttoned and his face white with shock. Admiral, we are under attack. Council fleets have appeared throughout human space. They are attacking our colonies without warning. New Busan, Kepler Station, the mining worlds in the Outer Rim. All of them are reporting enemy contact. Kim Dae-ho felt the world spinning around him. That is impossible. The Council are our allies. There must be some mistake. Sir, I have confirmed. Transmissions from 17 different colonies. They are all under attack by ships using Council technology and identification codes. This is no mistake. The Admiral ran to the bridge where chaos ruled. Officers shouted reports while warning lights flashed red across every console. The main screen showed dozens of contacts dropping out of hyperspace around Earth itself. The enemy fleet was massive, at least 500 ships arranged in attack formations that surrounded the planet completely. All ships, this is Admiral Kim Dae-ho, he broadcast on all frequencies. Battle stations, prepare for combat. Protect Earth at all costs. But when the human ships tried to respond, their systems began failing. Engines shut down without warning. Weapons systems went offline. Shield generators stopped working. The kill switches that Captain Yoon Mi-ra had discovered were being activated across the entire human fleet. Captain Song Min-ho of the cruiser Busan's Pride watched his ship die around him. One by one, every system that had been upgraded with Council technology simply stopped functioning. His crew worked desperately to restore power, but the alien sabotage was too complete. They were sitting ducks waiting to be destroyed. Sir, his engineering officer reported. "I can bypass some of the sabotage systems, but it will take time. Maybe 30 minutes if we are lucky." Song Min-ho looked at the tactical display where 20 enemy dreadnoughts were moving toward his position with weapons charging. "We do not have 30 minutes, we have maybe 5. He made a decision that would save thousands of lives. Instead of trying to fight with crippled weapons, he used his ship's remaining power to activate the emergency evacuation protocols for the civilian transport ships trying to escape Earth's orbit. His crew worked like machines to transfer power, from life support and artificial gravity to the ships that carried families fleeing the bombardment. "Sir, we are losing atmosphere on decks 7 through 12, his damage control officer reported. "Hull breaches on multiple levels. We need to evacuate now." "Negative. Keep transferring power to the civilian ships. Save as many as you can." Enemy plasma cannons fired in perfect synchronization. Busan's pride disappeared in a ball of nuclear fire, but not before the last transport ship jumped to hyperspace carrying 3,000 refugees to safety. On the council station, Ambassador Park So-min and Director Han Bo-ra were dragged from their quarters by alien soldiers. The charges read like something from a nightmare: genetic contamination, technological theft, conspiracy against galactic peace, and crimes against civilized species. Park So-min could not believe what she was hearing. "This is insane. We have broken no laws. We have honored every treaty and agreement." The Nexari officer in charge of her arrest clicked his mandibles in cruel amusement. "You have committed the crime of existing, human. Your species is a threat to galactic stability. The Council has voted to remove this threat permanently. You cannot do this. We are members of the Council. We have rights under galactic law. Your membership has been revoked. You have no rights. You are condemned criminals awaiting execution." Director Han Bo-ra was taken to a public area, where beings from dozens of worlds had gathered to watch. She was forced to kneel while the charges against humanity were read aloud. The crowd cheered when the sentence of death was announced. They cheered louder when the plasma rifle fired and Han Bo-ra ceased to exist. The message was broadcast across the galaxy. Any species that challenged Council authority would meet the same fate. The human rebellion was over before it began. In deep space, Captain Yoon Mira's science vessel Horizon's Edge was one of the few human ships that survived the initial attack. She had been conducting experiments in the outer system when the kill switches activated. Her science officer, Lieutenant Nam Yu-jin, had spent the last 3 months preparing for this moment by secretly disconnecting the sabotaged systems. "Captain, I am detecting massive energy discharges from the direction of human space," Nam Yu-jin reported. "The signatures match heavy orbital bombardment. Multiple worlds are under attack." Through her ship's powerful telescopes, Yoon Mira watched the systematic destruction of humanity's colonies. She saw the orbital platforms around New Busan explode in sequence. She watched transport ships full of refugees being hunted down and destroyed by fighter squadrons. She witnessed the death of millions of innocent people who had never harmed anyone. Chief Engineer Bae Tae-hyun joined them on the bridge with tears streaming down his face. "Captain, my family was on New Busan. My wife, my children, they were all there when the attack began." "I know, Tae-hyun, I am sorry. What do we do now, Captain? Our fleet is destroyed. Our colonies are gone. How do we fight back against this?" Yoon Mira looked at the data streaming across her screens. The Council had revealed their true nature. They were not peaceful explorers seeking cooperation. They were conquerors who eliminated any threat to their power. Humanity had been naive to trust them, but that naivety was dead now, burned away by the fire of betrayal. "We survive, Tae-hyun. We learn. We remember. And someday we make them pay for what they have done." The attack continued for 72 hours. When it ended, 12 billion humans were dead. 57 colony worlds had been reduced to smoking ruins. The proud fleet that had once patrolled human space was scattered wreckage floating in the void. Earth itself was occupied by Council forces who declared the former human territories open for colonization by loyal species. Overseer Velthar stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the final bombardment of the human homeworld's military installations. The great cities were burning. The orbital stations were twisted metal. The species that had dared to challenge Nexari supremacy was broken and defeated. Status report, he commanded. All primary targets have been neutralized. Human military capability has been reduced to 0. Surviving population is estimated at less than 5% of pre-attack levels. The human threat has been eliminated. Velthar's compound eyes reflected the flames consuming Earth's surface. Excellent. Begin Phase 3. Divide the former human territories among loyal council members. The hegemony will take the mining worlds. The Spiral Confederation will receive the agricultural planets. The Nexari Empire claims Earth itself as a trophy. 6 months after the massacre, the scattered remnants of humanity gathered in the Void Nebula, where space itself was angry and hostile. The nebula's radiation storms made sensors useless and communication impossible for most species. It was the perfect place to hide from the Council's hunting fleets that still searched for human survivors. Admiral Kim Dae-ho stood on the bridge of a ship that had once been called the Indomitable. Now it was renamed Vengeance Rising, and its hull was scarred by plasma burns and meteor impacts. The Admiral's face bore new lines and a scar that ran from his left temple to his jaw. He had aged 10 years and 6 months. Around him, 37 ships floated in the nebula's poisonous clouds. Some were military vessels that had escaped the initial attack. Others were civilian transports that had been converted into makeshift warships. All of them carried humans who had lost everything and had nothing left but hatred for those who had betrayed them. Commander Lee Junho, what is our current status? The Admiral asked. Lee Junho stepped forward with a tablet showing fleet readiness reports. His uniform was patched and worn, but his spine was still straight. Sir, we have approximately 40,000 survivors spread across all ships. Chief Engineer Bae Tae-hyun reports that 60% of our vessels are combat ready. The others are still undergoing repairs. And our supplies? Food and water for 3 months. Ammunition for 6 weeks of intensive combat. Medical supplies are critically low. Kim Dae-ho nodded. It was better than he had hoped for, but not nearly enough for what they needed to accomplish. Jun-ho, call a meeting of all ship commanders. It is time to discuss our future. 2 hours later, the commanders gathered in Vengeance Rising's main conference room. Captain Yoon Mira was there, her science vessel now equipped with weapons salvaged from destroyed council ships. Captain Song Min-ho attended via hologram from the rebuilt cruiser that he had renamed Earth's Wrath. Captain Choi Hyun-woo represented the destroyer squadrons that served as the fleet's scouts and raiders. My friends, Admiral Kim Dae-ho began, we are the last free humans in the galaxy. The Council believes they have destroyed our species. They have divided our former territories among themselves. They think the human problem is solved forever. Captain Yoon Mira spoke up. Admiral, we are 40,000 people against a galaxy of trillions. How can we possibly fight back? Mira, do you remember what we learned during our first year in space? One human with determination can accomplish more than 1,000 aliens with superior technology. The Council has made us desperate, and desperate humans are the most dangerous force in the universe. Chief Engineer Bae Tae-hyun entered, the room carrying several pieces of alien equipment. His hair had turned completely gray since his family died on New Busan, but his eyes still burned with purpose. Admiral, I have something to show you. We have learned to strip Council technology completely and rebuild it from the ground up. He placed a weapon on the table that looked like no human design but felt right in human hands. This plasma rifle uses Nexari power cells but fires twice as fast as their standard weapons. The targeting system combines Corvin sensors with human intuition. It is better than anything the Council military uses. How is that possible? Captain Song Min-ho asked from his hologram. Because we are not trying to follow their rules or maintain their standards. We take what works and throw away what does not. We build weapons to kill, not to impress other engineers. Bae Tae-hyun activated a holographic display showing ship designs that looked like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Our new destroyers can outrun anything the Council has. Our cruisers can punch through shields that stopped our old weapons, and our fighters are invisible to most alien sensors. Admiral Kim Dae-ho studied the designs. They were brutal and efficient, with no wasted space or unnecessary decorations. These were ships built by survivors who had learned that the universe was not a friendly place. How long to build a fleet? With our current resources, we can have 50 ships ready in 4 months. If we can capture more materials, we can build faster. Captain Yoon Mi-ra had been working on something even more important than new weapons. She activated her own holographic display showing intelligence networks that reached across Council space. Admiral, I have been infiltrating their communication systems. The Council is not as unified as they pretend to be. The display showed political divisions and conflicts between different species. The Corvan Republic is unhappy with how the Nexari Empire has claimed most of the former human territories. The Therian clans think the genocide was unnecessarily brutal. 6 minor species are worried that they might be next if they displease their superiors. Are you suggesting we try to turn them against each other? I am suggesting that we show them what happens to species that make deals with devils. Some of them joined the attack because they were promised rewards. Others were forced to participate by threats. If we can prove that the Council leadership cannot protect them, some might switch sides. Commander Lee Jun-ho had been studying reports from across human space. Admiral, we have another asset that the Council does not know about. Colonel Park Jin-soo is alive and building a resistance movement on the occupied worlds. The hologram changed to show grainy images captured by hidden cameras. Human survivors were attacking Council installations on a dozen different worlds. They used hit-and-run tactics, struck at supply convoys, and disappeared into underground tunnels before the aliens could respond. How many resistance fighters are there? Conservative estimates suggest at least 2 million humans survived the initial attack. Most are hiding in wilderness areas or underground facilities. Park Jin-soo has been organizing them into cells that can coordinate attacks across multiple worlds. Admiral Kim Dae-ho felt something he had not experienced since the day Earth burned. He felt hope. Not the naive hope of the species that had joined the Council believing in friendship and cooperation. This was the hard hope of people who had seen the worst the universe could offer and refused to surrender. My friends, we are going to do something that the Council thinks is impossible. We are going to rise from the ashes of our defeat and show the galaxy that humanity cannot be destroyed. But first we need to send a message to every human who still lives. We need to tell them that the fleet has not been defeated. Captain Choi Hyun-woo leaned forward. What kind of message, Admiral? The kind that is written in fire across the hull of burning enemy ships. The first strike came 3 weeks later at the Battle of Kepler Station. The Council had converted the former human research facility into a supply depot for their occupation forces. It was defended by 12 warships and considered completely safe from any possible human attack. Admiral Kim Dae-ho's rebuilt fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. The new ships moved like hunting wolves, their hulls dark and their weapons glowing with barely contained energy. The Council defenders had perhaps 30 seconds to realize they were under attack before the human fleet opened fire. Captain Song Min-ho's dreadnought Earth's Wrath led the charge. Its main guns fired continuously, each shot calculated to cause maximum damage to enemy shields and armor. The alien return fire bounced harmlessly off human deflector screens that had been redesigned using principles the Council had never considered. All ships, this is Admiral Kim Dae-ho. Show them what happens when you betray the human race. The battle lasted 18 minutes. When it ended, the Council fleet was burning wreckage and Kepler Station was back under human control. But the real victory was not military. It was the message broadcast across the galaxy, showing that humanity's fleet still existed and was stronger than ever. Captain Yoon Mi-ra's intelligence networks carried the footage to every corner of Council space. The images showed human ships that moved faster than anything the aliens had seen. They showed weapons that cut through Council armor like paper. Most importantly, they showed that the species the Council thought they had exterminated was very much alive and very angry. The reaction was immediate. On Earth, Colonel Park Jin-soo's resistance cells launched coordinated attacks against occupation forces in 12 major cities. The aliens found themselves fighting ghosts who struck without warning and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. On the outer rim worlds, human survivors began emerging from hiding places to help the fleet's raiding parties. They provided intelligence about enemy movements, sabotaged alien equipment, and guided human commandos to high-value targets. Most importantly, 3 Council species quietly reached out to Captain Yoon Mi-Ra's agents with offers to switch sides. The Corvan Republic was tired of Nexari domination. The Therian clans had never wanted to participate in genocide. The minor species of the Rim Alliance realized that today's victims could be tomorrow's freedom fighters. Admiral Kim Dae-ho stood on his bridge and watched the tactical display show human forces advancing across former Council territory. Each victory brought new recruits. Each battle showed the galaxy that humanity would not be intimidated or destroyed. Commander Lee Jun-ho, prepare the fleet for Phase 2 of our operations. Sir, what are our targets? Kim Dae-ho smiled for the first time in 6 months. It was not a pleasant expression. We are going to visit every species that participated in the attack on Earth. The human counterattack began at the Battle of Kepler Station, where Admiral Kim Dae-ho's rebuilt fleet emerged from hyperspace like avenging angels wrapped in fire and fury. The Council forces had been expecting scattered survivors fleeing in panic. Instead, they faced ships that moved with deadly precision and weapons that made their own technology look like children's toys. Captain Song Min-ho commanded the dreadnought Earth's Wrath from the center of the human formation. His ship had been rebuilt from salvaged metal and powered by rage that burned hotter than any fusion reactor. The main guns fired continuously, each shot guided by targeting computers that calculated not just where to hit, but how to cause maximum pain to the enemy. All weapons focus fire on the Nexari command ship, Song Min-ho ordered. Show these insects what happens when they murder human children. The alien flagship tried to maneuver away from the human attack, but Earth's Wrath was faster than anything the Council had ever built. The human ship closed the distance like a hunting shark and unleashed a barrage of antimatter torpedoes that cracked the enemy vessel's hull like an eggshell. The Council defenders fired back with everything they had, but their plasma beams and particle cannons barely scratched the human shields. Chief Engineer Bae Tae-hyun had redesigned the defensive systems using principles that alien engineers had never considered. The shields did not just absorb energy, they reflected it back at the attackers with twice the original power. Captain, the tactical officer reported, enemy formation is breaking up. They are trying to retreat. Negative, no survivors, no mercy, they showed none to our people. The battle became a massacre. Human fighters swarmed over crippled alien vessels like angry wasps. Boarding parties led by Commander Lee Jun-ho's Marines captured enemy survivors and broadcast their confessions across the galaxy. The footage showed Council officers admitting to genocide, explaining how they had planned humanity's destruction for 50 years. But the real victory came when Colonel Park Jin-soo's resistance fighters simultaneously attacked the station from within. They had been hiding in the maintenance tunnels and service shafts for months waiting for this moment. When the human fleet arrived, they sabotaged the station's defenses and opened the docking bays for human reinforcements. This is Colonel Park Jin-soo to all Council forces on Kepler Station. You have 30 seconds to surrender or be destroyed. The human fleet has returned, and we are taking back what belongs to us. The station commander was a hegemony officer who had personally overseen the execution of human prisoners. He chose to fight rather than face human justice. His decision lasted exactly 30 seconds before Park Jin-soo's commandos stormed the command center and ended his life with extreme prejudice. Captain Yoon. Mira coordinated the information warfare from her science vessel that had become the fleet's intelligence command center. Her broadcasts reached every corner of Council space, showing the galaxy that humanity had returned stronger than ever. But more importantly, her messages reached the resistance cells hidden on occupied human worlds. This is Captain Yoon Mi-ra to all human survivors. The fleet lives. Earth remembers. Rise up and reclaim your homes. The time for hiding is over. The response was immediate and overwhelming. On New Busan, human survivors emerged from underground bunkers carrying weapons they had built from salvaged alien technology. On the mining worlds, human workers who had been enslaved by their conquerors turned their industrial equipment into weapons of war. On Earth itself, Resistance fighters launched coordinated attacks against occupation forces in every major city. The Council had made a critical error in their genocide. They had assumed that killing most humans would break the survivors' will to fight. Instead, they had created millions of people who had nothing left to lose and everything to avenge. These were not the peaceful colonists who had once dreamed of galactic cooperation. These were survivors who had watched their families die and their worlds burn. Admiral Kim Dae-ho received reports from across human space as world after world declared independence from Council rule. The aliens had built their occupation on the assumption that humans were weak and divided. They discovered too late that suffering had united humanity in ways that peace never could. Commander Lee Jun-ho, what is our current fleet strength? Sir, we now have 200 ships operational, with more joining us every day. The Corvan Republic has provided us with 30 heavy cruisers. The Therian clans have sent fighter squadrons. Even some Nexari dissidents have switched sides after seeing footage of the genocide. Kim Dae-ho studied the tactical displays showing human forces advancing toward the core Council worlds. Each victory brought new allies who realized that the old galactic order was crumbling. Species that had been oppressed by the major powers for centuries saw humanity's rebellion as their chance for freedom. Jun-ho, prepare the fleet for the final assault on Nexus Prime. It is time to end this war where it began. The climactic battle occurred in orbit above Nexus Prime, the Council's capital world where the decision to exterminate humanity had been made. The Nexari Empire's elite, Imperial fleet waited in defensive positions around their homeworld. They had assembled every ship they could find, nearly 1,000 vessels with enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. Overseer Velthar commanded the defense from his flagship, a massive dreadnought that had been built specifically to intimidate other species into submission. His compound eyes reflected the approaching human fleet, and he felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. All ships, this is Overseer Velthar. The human vermin have come to die at the heart of our empire. Show them the price of challenging their superiors. But Admiral Kim Dae-ho's armada was no longer just human ships. The fleet had grown to over 500 vessels representing dozens of species who had joined the fight for freedom. The Corvan Republic flew alongside human dreadnoughts. Therian fighters escorted human bombers. Even former Council species had turned against the corrupt leadership that had ruled through fear and oppression. This is Admiral Kim Dae-ho to all ships in the Liberation Fleet. Today we settle accounts for 12 billion murdered humans. Today we show the galaxy that genocide has consequences. All ships, attack. The battle raged for 6 hours above Nexus Prime. The sky burned with the light of dying ships and exploding reactors. Human antimatter weapons carved through alien armor like swords through silk. Corvan plasma cannons melted Nexari shields. Therian fighters danced between capital ships, striking vital systems with surgical precision. Captain Song Min-ho's Earth's Wrath dueled directly with Velthar's flagship. The two massive ships circled each other like ancient warriors, trading devastating blows that lit up the darkness of space. Song Min-ho had lost his entire family in the bombardment of Earth. This was personal. Target their command section. End this. The final shot came from Earth's Wrath's main gun, an antimatter cannon that Chief Engineer Bae Tae-hyun had powered with the concentrated fury of humanity's desire for justice. The beam punched through the alien flagship's hull and detonated, inside the command center where Velthar had planned humanity's extermination. The Nexari flagship exploded in a ball of nuclear fire that could be seen from the planet's surface. With their leader dead and their fleet in ruins, the remaining Council forces surrendered rather than face the same fate as their genocidal commanders. Admiral Kim Dae-ho stood in the ruins of the Council chambers on Nexus Prime's surface. The building where humanity's death sentence had been signed was now filled with liberated prisoners and refugees from a dozen worlds. The great hall that had once echoed with speeches about galactic order now rang with the voices of species, celebrating their freedom. Velthar knelt before the human admiral in chains. The insectoid who had orchestrated the greatest genocide in galactic history was now a broken prisoner awaiting judgment. He expected death and perhaps hoped for it. What he received was far worse. Velthar of the former Nexari Empire, You are guilty of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against all thinking beings. Your punishment is exile to the dead worlds you created. You will spend the rest of your life walking among the ashes of the humans you murdered, remembering their faces and knowing that your evil has been defeated. Kill me, human. Do not make me live with this shame. Death is too easy for you. Live with what you have done. Live knowing that the species you tried to exterminate has become the guardian of galactic freedom. 3 months later, Ambassador Park So-min stood before the reformed Galactic Assembly in a building constructed from the wreckage of the old council station. She had been freed from the prison where she had watched Director Han Bora die. Now she spoke for humanity and all the species that had joined their cause. We offered you our friendship, and you answered with genocide. We offered you peace, and you chose war. We offered you cooperation, and you chose domination. Now we offer you justice earned with fire and fury unbound, and tempered by the wisdom that no species should ever again face what humanity endured. The assembly hall was filled with representatives from over 200 worlds. Some had fought alongside humanity in the Liberation War. Others had remained neutral. A few had supported the old council until the very end. All of them listened as the human ambassador outlined the new galactic order.